It's Costco season. You know that time of year when the sun's starting to come out up here in Alberta. We're finally thinking we're past winter, although we've only had 8 versions of it. So we got some more to go. But it's also that idea that you feel as though you're losing all of these files, all of these bookings, all of these inquiries to Costco or to online or to wherever it is. And the reality is, you lost them long before it goes to price. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why that is and what it is that you can do about it. So let's get into it.
This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast. And here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Okay, let's get real. Have you ever been ghosted by a client? You know, where they've given you an inquiry, you've sent them pricing, and then crickets. There's nothing. You've sent them multiple emails. I'm going on the theory that you did follow up. That's a whole other episode about whether or not you followed up. But we're going to go on the theory that you did. But there's nothing. Most advisors at that point start to think that the problem is price. It's not. It rarely is price. Michael Vickers has a saying, it's never about the price unless it's about the price, how does that go? Michael Vickers has a saying that it's never about price unless it's about price, in which case it's only about price, but it's never about price. It's something to that effect. I think I kind of butchered it a little bit, but the reality is it's not about price. The real moment you lost them was in the interaction. See, too often travel advisors are treating it like a transaction, that as if somebody's come to the checkout counter at your local market or store or whatever it is that you want to do it, that you're responding like a booking engine and not the expert that you are, that the industry is. And instead, the internet has spent years conditioning your clients to look at you that way, to feel that way. And so what they're going to do is they're going to hit your inbox or they're going to hit a messenger, and they just want you there to validate what they've already found. They want you to tell them that what they're doing is the right thing, that they're headed down the right track. Too many clients think that your entire job is there to confirm, validate, and process what it is that they want. Here's an uncomfortable question that I think every travel advisor needs to ask themselves. If your clients are treating you like a commodity, it's worth asking yourself honestly, what have your actions been teaching them? We're headed into an entirely different version of the travel industry than we have ever seen in history. And while, yes, the travel industry has had many iterations, I joined the industry shortly after the internet became a thing. We are now in an AI era. I was reading an article recently here where I believe it said 53% of all travelers were using AI to help plan their vacation. And yet just last year, I think it was like at 38%. So that growth all on its own is astronomical. But the reality is, if all you're doing is providing pricing, if all you're doing is providing a confirmation, a validation, you're out. You are done. Because there's always going to be somebody cheaper. There's always going to be somebody else for them to ask. You need to figure out what makes you different. And so most advisors know that they're not order takers. A lot of them will even talk about being a specialist of this or a specialist of that in their bio. And then they vent about it on Facebook groups. Oh my goodness, the conversations inside of Facebook groups. And yet, the moment they get an inquiry or they get something or that they see something in a mommy Facebook group or something, they immediately skip the consultation and go straight to it. I've seen travel advisors in local buy and sell groups, just promoting the cheapest deal that's out there, or in a mommy Facebook group where somebody says, does anybody know how to do Disney? And without fail, this is what I see. Send me your dates and the ages and I'll get you pricing. That is an order taker. That is transactional. That's not the way to build a long-term business. Will you get the file in the here and now? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to say probably heavier on the maybe not. And I get it. You might be listening and thinking, but I need to get files. I need to get new bookings. I need to do something. And I'm not saying that you can't capture these ones. What I am saying is we need to change how it is that we're proceeding with working with those files. Instead of just send me your ages and your dates, say, I would love to get you the right vacation for your budget. I would really like to help you out to make sure that you're getting the vacation that you really want. Because here's the deal. I've done the cheap vacation. I've done the vacation that was so cheap, I cried every single friggin' night of my trip because I couldn't afford to get us back out of there because of where we were in life at the time. I was still in my 20s. We had 2 kids. I was newly into the workforce or back into the workforce after Matt leaves and being a stay-at-home mom for a number of years. And it was the first trip that I had planned for us. I was like, oh my goodness, I can afford to book us a trip because it does not cost a gajillion dollars. This is amazing. This was like way back in the day when WestJet first started offering vacation packages. And so they did them like cheap. That was the day that I learned not all cheap vacations are a good vacation. In fact, a lot of cheap vacations are absolutely terrible vacations, and you will cry yourself to sleep every night because you can't afford to get out of there. This is why you can't afford to skip the consultation. Because had I booked with a travel advisor, not myself, I never, ever would have booked with that advisor ever again. Ever. And I would have made damn sure everybody I talked to knew what a terrible property they put me in. Instead, I use that as the fuel to have hard conversations with my clients, to say to them, if this is all you can afford, I can't strongly recommend enough that we wait another 6 months, because I do know what it's like to have cried myself to sleep every night. Now, there is a lot of clients out there that's not why they're looking for the cheap. It's because that's what they've been pre-programmed to think. That's what they've been pre-programmed to assume. That's what they've been pre-trained to do. I'm not going to be in the hotel that much anyways. How important is it? You're still going to eat the food there. You're still going to use the pool there. You're still going to use a lot of the services. See, one of the things about that property that we stayed at, there was nothing quote unquote wrong with it. The room was comfortable. It was the way that the property itself operated. For example, they allowed people to save chairs. Okay, great. No problem. Except my husband and I walked around. We could not find chairs on the beach that were empty. We could not find chairs at the pool that were empty. So we decided to go for lunch that day. And when we were inside the buffet, I overheard somebody saying, oh yeah, no, we've got chairs down at the beach and by the pool. And the one guy goes, oh, how many? He's like, oh, she's like, oh, we got 15 of them. And he's like, at each of them? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, oh, so is everybody else out there? She's like, no, we're all in here. We're all having lunch. So they were taking up 15 chairs inside the restaurant, plus 15 chairs at the pool and 15 chairs at the beach. And so it becomes one of those things where it's like, but I kind of like the resorts where they don't let you save them, because one, you don't have to be up at 5 freaking in the morning in order to get a chair. But also two, there's just a different energy at a property like that. This one was also such an extreme timeshare that you were an entirely different class of person if you were not part of their timeshare company. And they made that abundantly clear. Now, the food wasn't great. This wasn't great. That wasn't great. This, that, the other. But it's those moments that are going to show you what it is that makes a difference for. Another example is when you answer a price question with a quote instead of another question. If you're not having questions about why that they have that price question, you're missing the whole thing. See, a lot of people are going to ask you or push back on price because they don't either one, don't know what else to ask, or two, aren't comfortable asking the other question, or three, they're simply trapped in an indecision wheel that's going around and around and around and around, and they don't know what to do with it. Every time you do that, you are sending a message, and that message is, this is how you work with me. So the problem is that we get so frustrated. I see travel advisors all the time that are so frustrated with how their clients are treating them. And yet the reality is you taught them how to treat you that way. You taught them that this is how it goes. You can't say that you're an expert and then show up like an order taker. Clients believe what you do, not what you say. I want to repeat that again. You can't say you're an expert and then show up like an order taker, because clients are going to believe what it is that you do, not just what it is that you say. You can say everything you want till you're blue in the face. But if your actions don't back it up, if you are not walking the walk while you're talking the talk, it's all for nothing. So, experts don't just answer questions, they ask better ones. That is such a huge element of all of this. If you are not asking better questions, you can't get better answers. And when you're not getting the better answers, the right answers, or simply answers at all, then your clients don't have enough information to make the decision that's best for them. They don't have the information that's going to be able to help them to move out of indecision, or worse yet, to see what the difference is in pricing. You can have, let's just look at cruising, for example. There's so many different cruise lines out there, and the pricing is wild. Absolutely wild. You can get a cruise to Alaska for as low as like $500. Don't come for me. They're out there. They exist. But we're talking an inside on specific cruise lines. And then you can get Alaska for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Same duration for nearly the exact same ports. So I'm here to tell you there is a whole lot of window in between. And if you got somebody looking at 500,000, why on earth are they ever going to look at 50? And I'm not saying that that client is the same person. But what I am saying is when we are looking at the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, there can be a lot of conversation to be had in that. Because those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 client, a lot of times the 2,000 is a $7,000 client. They just don't understand why or what. That's what that context is going to give them. You also need the context from them in order to even know what it is that you're doing. I can't tell you how many times clients came into me with already knowing what they wanted. And if I would have just clicked and booked it, it would have been the worst possible vacation. Why? Because they didn't have the right information with full context. Because when I started asking them questions, when I started to really develop what it was that they were looking for, it completely shifted what it was that they had asked for. And I was able to go deeper with them. And I was able to say, while that's a good option for this, you've asked for this over here. And these two are not the same. When they come to you with a half-formed request, that's your cue to when a client comes to you and they've got this idea, it's not your cue to instantly start quoting. It's your cue to slow down the conversation and lead it to somewhere's better. Somewhere's that's going to create the context so that everybody knows what's going on. Slowing down isn't difficult. It's actually being professional. I was looking at something the other day as we're putting together a new podcast. It's going to be on a different channel and other such. for brand new travel advisors. And slowing down is such a huge theme when you're getting going. And yet, for those that are seasoned, they also know it. When you are putting in the names for the airline tickets or whatever it is, you've got to slow down. You got to make sure you've got those names spelled right, that you've got everything in the right order, that you're sending them to the right Sydney. That is, not Sydney, Canada, but Sydney, Australia, or even what part of Sydney, Canada are you sending them to? But instead, you're going to slow down. You're going to make sure you have the right details for the booking. Why do so many want to speed through the details that are going to get them to the booking? The consultation needs to be, you need to stop positioning it as we're going to do a 30 or a 60 or a 90-minute consultation. Instead, if we were to spend 10 minutes on a quick call, I can make sure that I'm designing the right experience for you instead of just throwing random options at the wall. Because if you are taking 30, 60, 90 minutes, that's a big friction point. And my question for you is, what all do you need to do in 30 or 60 or 90 minutes? Yes, there are definitely exceptions. I will say when I did a destination wedding, it was usually in the 90 minutes. I've even had some as much as 3 hours. Now, the preface to that is at the end of a 90, 120 or a 3-hour call, we were down to, okay, so when the pricing comes back for this property, not all of the options, this property, this date, and this is our backup if it's not available here. It's about how precise are you going to get it? If we're going to be where we're still going to do a couple of different options, we want to make sure that we're getting the context, and we're doing it concisely and moving on. The one question that changes everything, and if you were listening to last week's podcast with Lisa McLeod, is how do you want this? How do you want to feel on this trip? That's her line. And I think it was absolutely brilliant. It pulls them out of the logistics mode and into the outcomes. I think too often we're so focused on how fast do you want to get there? How much do you want to spend? How do you, what kind of hotel? Where do you want, and it's, people go on vacation so that they feel something, so that they experience something, so that something happens. The other night, I had a conversation with a friend of mine because we're going to a retreat in the mountains, but her and I are going to stay a few days longer. And she called, because I said to her, what are you thinking about hotels? And she said, well, I'm going to message, or I'll call you between this time and this time. So she called me, and her first question was, how much do you spend on hotels? And I said, I spend whatever it takes. It is what it is. And she's like, no. We need a dollar value. And I said, no, I'm good in the 250 to 500 range per night. If it's less, great. But if it's more, so be it. Because I knew what I wanted for this pre-retreat time. Because while we're going together, we're staying separately, we are working separately. We'll just probably meet up for suppers or something of that nature. But it's about the light. For me, the room has to be filled with light. I need to have workspaces. I need to have space to spread out. I did kind of chuckle because there was a 2-bedroom option. And she goes, but you've said you're a loud worker. I said, well, I don't think so, but my husband will say I am. I do kind of talk and stim and other such. It's the whole ADHD thing. But we both needed space to spread out. And for me, the one thing that captured me as we were going through hotels and going through condos and things like that, I was completely drawn to the ones, the bigger the window, the more it captured my attention. The lighter and brighter the room, the more it captured my attention. And the reason why we didn't extend at the property that we're staying at for our retreat is because they went very cabiny and very dark, and it's all wood, and it's all, all of these other sorts of things. And that's not how I want to feel when I'm doing my pre-retreat. So it's really important that you're getting into that. How do you want to feel? Energized, stimulated, relaxed. I want to go and experience all of these things, and I want to make sure that I'm not having to do it. See, that's something that the algorithm can't do. I was actually just watching a clip. Oprah, there's a whole lot of content out there right now about AI. I guess there's a documentary that actually says there is a 1% chance AI could wipe out humanity, which is like 10% more than we need to know. Like, it needs to be in the negatives, the likelihood that this could happen. Like, it needs to be, no, it will make humanity better. It won't, there, yeah, I'm sorry. 1% is way too high. But one of the things that I saw in this Oprah clip is it talked about this person saying that jobs as you know it are going to be done because there's so much more out there. She's like, financial analysts, AI will do it. Management, AI will do it. This AI will do it. I'm sorry, travel advisors are a part of that. Here is the thing. Here is what I want you to think about. If you are doing transactions, good news, AI can do that. But the one thing that truly made me bristle when I heard about like a financial analyst, and to me, this is so important for a travel advisor too. Somebody's programmed that AI. Somebody in that top 1% of the 1% eventually is going to control all of this, which means that they are going to control how we all think, how we all process, how we all consume, how we all do everything. And guess what? From what I've seen of that top 1% of the 1%, I don't trust their motives. I am losing faith in technology on a daily basis. That doesn't mean I don't use it. Heck, earlier today, Claude told me it wouldn't help me do anything else because I gave it my agenda for the day of which getting this podcast was done. And it told me, that's great. We will work on it as soon as you've recorded your podcast. Bossy piece of crap. But anyways, here's the reality though. You have to figure out how to be more than a transaction. Because if all you're doing is a transaction based on price, it's going to lead you down to the bottom. So what about when they bring up price anyways? Even when you do everything right, price will still come up sometimes. And yeah, absolutely. That's going to happen. But here's the deal. Price is rarely the issue. There are so many other factors that come into that. The move is to never defend, cave, or price match. You want to acknowledge it, reframe it, and redirect it. That makes sense. A lot of people come to me having seen that. The difference really isn't about price. It's about what's included and who's got your back when something goes wrong. What I really want to make sure is that this is the right trip for you. So tell me, how do you want to feel when you get there? You want to make sure that you're acknowledging, reframing, and redirecting. There's so many ways that you can, and I don't want to say recover or capture or hold on to, because that feels like language. But the reality is, it's just to not give it up without needing to give it up. Cheapest price is a race to the bottom, and the clients that are loyal to the price are never going to be loyal to you. And while, yes, you may get the booking here and there, that is not how you build a long-term sustainable business. You want to make sure that you are building a business filled with loyal clients who are coming to you for expertise, not just transactions. Every single interaction you have with a client is a training moment. It is training them how to treat you. It is training them what it's like to actually work with you. You're constantly showing your clients what that looks like, whether you mean to or not. When you skip the conversation, they expect speed. Lead with price, and they compare everything. Ask better questions, slow down the process, keep the focus on outcomes, and the whole entire dynamic is going to shift. You were never meant to be a drive-through, and the travel advisors who treat it like a drive-through transaction, they've got a short shelf life. The ones that understand their expertise, their professionalism, and what it takes to genuinely connect with a client, those are the travel advisors who are going to build a long, sustainable, profitable travel business. So if this episode hit home for you, here's what we're doing. Inside of the Travel Advisor Success Studio, each and every month, I do a training. The next one's actually coming up next week, and we're going to be tackling this topic. We're going to be going through how to create your own scripts or how to create your own framework so that you have the right wording, so that you know what it is to say, and so that you're not losing the clients before you even get to the price. We're going to go further. So if you've been inconsistently selling, or if, the big warehouse has you stressed, you're going to want to join us over in the Travel Advisor Success Studio. It's only $27 per month. You can cancel anytime. So come join us. I'm going to link it all up in the show notes for you. I would love to see you there. And until next time, happy selling.